Okay, this is 2.2, part 2, looking at cell organelles. So we started to discuss parts of cells like cell membranes, how some cells have cell walls, how cells can move with the use of flagella or cilia, prokaryotic cells versus eukaryotic. So prokaryotic means they don't have a nucleus. Eukaryotic means that they do have a nucleus. So euc rhymes with nuke, pro rhymes with no. Yeah, little mnemonic saying there. So today we're going to focus on cell organelles. Now, organelles, if you look at the word organelles, it actually has the word organ in it. So you can kind of think of these as structures or organs that the cell has to help them carry out different functions at the same time. So organelles allow cells to carry out different functions or jobs at the same time. So we're going to start in the center of our cell, focusing on the nucleus. The nucleus is very important. It directs all cell activities that occur inside the cell, and it directs it by using this information molecule called DNA. Um, all cells have some type of DNA in it. In the nucleus, we only find the nucleus in eukaryotic cells, not prokaryotic cells, but prokaryotic cells still have DNA. It's just not found in a nucleus, it's just found in a cytoplasm. So the nucleus is considered basically the brain of the cell. It controls all the activities, all the jobs that a cell carries out. DNA is organized into chromosomes. We have 46 chromosomes. Carp have 104. So chromosomes are just units of DNA. Some parts of the nucleus, the nucleolus. So in the center, so this is my nucleus. This entire thing is a nucleus. In the center, we have this very densely packed region called the nucleolus. And this is where ribosomes are made. And I know you don't know what ribosomes are yet, but when we get to ribosomes, ribosomes help to make proteins for the cell. The nucleus has a layer that protects it called the nuclear envelope. So this entire thing is called the nucleus. In the very center of the nucleus, we have the nucleolus, and the membrane or barrier that makes up the nucleus is called the nuclear envelope. All right, now cells make things, okay? And how they do that is through the use of ribosomes. So in the previous slide, I said, remember the nucleolus? That's where ribosomes are made? Well, now we're going to talk about ribosomes. Ribosomes, after they're made in the nucleus, leave the nucleus, and they either are found in the cytoplasm, which is this jelly-like material found outside of the nucleus. Okay, so it'd be like this yellow area here. It can also be found on the endoplasmic reticulum. So you see these tiny little dots. If I zoom in on this, you see these dots. Those are ribosomes, and their main job is to make proteins. Okay. Now, the endoplasmic reticulum lies just outside the nucleus. It's a web-like organelle. It makes proteins because it has ribosomes, but it can also make lipids. And so areas that don't have ribosomes, we call them smooth ER. So if there's no ribosomes present, then it's going to be making lipids. If it's got ribosomes present, then we call it rough ER, and its main job is to make proteins. So, in recap, endoplasmic reticulum, also abbreviated as ER. If it has ribosomes, it makes proteins. If it does not have ribosomes, it makes lipids. Okay, we have some organelles that are very important in making energy. And so we have the mitochondria, which is this bean-shaped organelle that makes energy. And it makes energy by creating a molecule called ATP. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. So here you can see that the cell has multiple power plants or multiple mitochondria scattered throughout the cytoplasm. And it makes ATP. ATP is the fuel of all of life's activities. So you can kind of think of it as like maybe this is a power plant that burns coal, and the coal that it burns is ATP. Okay, so yeah. The fuel source is glucose, fatty acids, amino acids. They go into the mitochondria. The mitochondria breaks down these molecules to make ATP, and ATP is the energy currency that our cells use to carry out all of life processes. Now, another organelle that's only found in plant cells and maybe some bacteria cells is chloroplast. So this organelle can also make energy. It is a membrane-bound organelle, but instead of making ATP, it captures light. So it's kind of like a solar panel. It captures light to make food, in this case sugar or glucose. It also needs water and CO2 to do this. So light with water and carbon dioxide, they can make their own food. So plants make their own food through this process called photosynthesis. And it takes place in that organelle called the chloroplast. So you can kind of see how this plant cell right here has multiple chloroplasts that capture sunlight and they make sugars. So again, here's sunlight, captures, here's water entering, here's CO2, and it makes sugars. You can kind of see that it also involves a little bit of energy, and we'll talk more about that in photosynthesis. Here's a side-by-side comparison of mitochondria versus the chloroplast. You can kind of see they're very similar. They have double membranes. They both are energy types of organelles, but they are different. So, okay, another section of organelles are organelles that can process things, that can help move things, and store molecules. So the Golgi apparatus, what it does is it takes proteins, okay, and it prepares them to carry out special jobs or functions. It also can package proteins into these membrane-bound ball-like structures called vesicles. And vesicles are kind of like these little blobs that can enter or leave the cell. So they're kind of like transport. So the Golgi apparatus takes proteins, prepares them to do jobs, kind of does some final modifications, packages it into vesicles, and sends them on their way. I like to think of the Golgi apparatus as like a UPS truck, sending those proteins to their final destinations. Another organelle, and probably one of my favorite, is the lysosomes. This is a picture of a lysosome. A lysosome is kind of like the garbage man of the truck or of the cell. It basically breaks down waste products and recycles them. It takes out the trash, it destroys things, so it can break down and recycle old cellular components. Vacuoles are organelles that store things. They can store food, water, waste material. Vacuoles are very common in plants. They have a central vacuole, one that's very, very large and takes up pretty much the entire space of a plant cell. Animals do have vacuoles, but they're really, really small. In our book says that animals don't have vacuoles, but it was just recently discovered within like the last 10 years that we do have vacuoles. Okay, so that does it for part 2. Just taking notes. When we come back next week, we're going to read the section, do some worksheets, and then we're going to start a project that deals with these organelles.